I'm observing and collecting the stories.
But it's adding up, right? So you also talk about the importance of the Bible, in which women are deemed subservient.
No, they're not. That's complete rubbish.
Wait until you see this clash between Jordan Peterson and a woke interviewer who claimed the Bible was harmful to women. It's a masterclass at dismantling absurd woke arguments, and you and I are going to have a front row seat.
When I do my lectures, I don't talk politically. I'm not against things. I'm for individual people. Individual people.
So
get out there. Do your best.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. Set the world in order. Have a family. Accept some responsibility. Fix up your community. And take the beam out of your own eye before you worry about the mote in your neighbors.
Yeah. And I like that part of 12 rules and of everything that you're saying. But then there seems to be this other side, or it comes out in interviews sometimes, but it's also in 12 rules, where you equate the feminine with chaos.
I don't do that.
No,
that's ridiculous. The Taoists have done that for 3,000 years.
I know, but
right, it's not me.
No.
Right.
But you're...
Now, I just want to pause there for a moment, because this is something that woke interviewers have such a hard time wrapping their minds around. Jordan Peterson's analysis draws from a very ancient conception of gender, where human gender is actually a microcosmic reflection of a larger, older macrocosmic order. So in the ancient world, gender doesn't begin with humans or with animals. Gender was, in fact, interwoven into the very fabric of nature, in that the cosmos was itself organized according to gender categories. So in the ancient Greek work Theogony by Hesiod, the earth goddess Gaia arises from chaos, and both Gaia and chaos are envisioned with female symbolism, and they together give birth to Uranos, or heaven, that's associated with male symbolism. So in the Greek cosmos, heaven and earth are male and female respectively, and human genders are manifestations of this more basic cosmic gender differentiation. So this is all to say that the ancient world believed we lived in a gendered reality. Gender wasn't a social construct that was arbitrarily made up. It was a fixed cosmic principle of which we were a microcosmic part. Now, obviously, that could be used in all kinds of ways to justify making women subservient, but the key here is that, classically speaking, gender is not arbitrary. It's not fluid. It has a fixedness that's established, that's as established as the cosmos itself.
You write a book which is an antidote to chaos, and you're selecting the stories in which the feminine is chaos, and also
I'm observing and collecting the stories.
But it's adding up, right? So you also talk about the importance of the Bible, in which women are deemed subservient.
No, they're not. That's complete rubbish. How in the world could you possibly derive that idea from biblical readings? The most fundamental statement in the Bible, and this is a miraculous statement, it's absolutely incomprehensible that it was written some thousands of years ago. Men and women are made in the image of God. Not men. Men and women.
But you know that there's also passages in there which do posit the woman as subservient.
What passages are you referring to?
Well, where it's told to Adam and Eve that women will henceforth have to obey their husband.
Well,
that
wasn't what would you say? That wasn't a divine injunction. It was a terrible warning.
Okay,
it wasn't a statement about how society should be structured. It was a statement about the inevitability of that happening, because women were going to be vulnerable in pregnancy and in child raising.
Now, again, Jordan Peterson is absolutely right here, and the interviewer is really grasping at straws. It's widely recognized that the Bible put forward a vision of humanity that affirmed the absolute innate dignity of women, rooted in the theological notion of the image of God. In the distinctively Christian development of the concept, male and female coming together in marriage and forming a third is an astonishing image of the Trinity, all three persons being equal in essence while different in role. And that's why, from its very beginning, Christianity evidenced an astonishing reverence for women. Women were prominent among the first followers of Jesus and the first witnesses to his resurrection. Through the influence of the church, the 5th century legal code of Theodosius II redefined divorce law decidedly in favor of women. Women were now allowed to reclaim their dowries and their husbands' betrothal gifts if abandoned by their husbands, and they were allowed to remarry, all in stark contrast to the laws that preceded the advent of Christianity in the Greco-Roman world. And it all goes back to the biblical vision of male and female both being created in the image of God.
Now, I understand your interpretation. You're interpreting the Bible and you're interpreting Nietzsche and bringing it all together. It's fine that you're doing that in your way. But can you understand that to women, it may feel like you are against them?
What do you mean, it may feel to women? Like, there's no injunction in that story.
No, but
that
generally,
men have the right to lord it over women. No, it's not in the story.
It's not just this story, of course. You know,
but what is it? There's heroic females in the entire corpus of the Old Testament, and there's no evidence whatsoever throughout the biblical corpus that women are any less worthy of the kingdom of God than men. And so this is part of the same thing. There's the pervasive notion that even the fundamental documents of Western civilization have this inbuilt patriarchal bias. Look, as far as I'm concerned, that statement that men and women are both made in the image of God, which gives them each a spark of divinity, out of that tiny little statement grew the entire idea of individual human rights. The idea that the state couldn't impose its purview past a certain limit, and that idea grew over thousands of years to provide the relatively free society that we have now. And to assume that is associated in some manner with patriarchal oppression, especially given the time when that was written, is just think about how unlikely it was that long ago those words were penned.
You got to sympathize with Peterson here. I mean, this interviewer is such a moving target, you know. He demolishes her citing of Genesis 3 as the basis for female subservience, and then she retreats to, well, it's not just that, it's all these other things. Yeah, all these other things that Peterson keeps systematically blowing up. You don't have an argument anymore. And Peterson really got to the rub there. This is ultimately about undermining, a very deliberate neo-Marxist undermining of the very foundations of Western civilization. It's all about an attempt to discredit and vilify the sacred source of the freedoms and liberties that we've developed in the West over the last 2,000 years, and Jordan Peterson isn't having any of it. And yet, she still wasn't done. Hey gang, make sure to click on that link below and protect yourself and your loved ones from these insane leftist elites by protecting your assets with the timeless value of gold and silver. As you know, patriots over the centuries have always relied on gold and silver to protect their assets during economic storms, and that is where the amazing patriots over at Goldco come in. If you've got $50,000 or more in an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you need to protect those assets from the current economic insanity with the timeless value of gold and silver. Click on that link below and talk to our good friends over at Goldco. They're patriots just like us, and they want you to succeed so much, they're going to be offering you up to $10,000 in free silver if you open up an account with them. But that is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Click on that link below or visit my special website, turleytalkslikesgold.com.
But Jordan, please listen to the question that I'm trying to pose, and it's not about this, it's about everything adding up, and that makes women feel that somehow you are against them. And wait a minute before you answer, because you're all about taking responsibility, and that it's very important to look at the consequences of what we do. And somehow a lot of women feel like you're against them. So what's going on there? What's your responsibility here?
You have no evidence whatsoever of what proportion of the people who are watching my videos or listening to my podcast or reading my books who are women feel that way. Your accusations are purely speculative.
It's not. It's not an accusation.
Sure,
No, it's just an observation. It was
but an
within
observation based on what?
Well,
I have women I have dozens of women, hundreds of women who've written me letters thanking me for the books and for what they've done for their sons and for their husbands. And about 30% of the audiences to my shows are now women, and that's increasing as a consequence of the book.
Of course.
So I don't
Not
buy
all
it.
women. Not all women.
Yeah, well, there's a small and unspecified percentage of women who may hold the perspective that you describe, but you have no idea what the percentage is, and you have no hard facts on it, and so there's no way of defending myself against it. And the idea that I happen to identify the feminine with chaos is, why is that a problem? Chaos is no worse than order. Order is tyranny. Chaos is possibility. The mere fact that people don't do a close enough reading to understand that these two powers are equally balanced, in that order can be security or tyranny, and that chaos can be potential or uncertainty. The fact that people aren't reading carefully enough to understand that is not my problem. They could read it carefully enough to understand that. And to say that that's a fabrication on my part is absolutely foolish. I mean, for 40 years, let's say the mystic left has been enamored of the Taoist philosophy. Well, the philosophy that I'm putting forward is the Taoist philosophy. So how in the world can that be laid at my feet? And it's certainly not the only example of the symbolic utilization of masculinity for order. Look at it this way. Why do you think the feminists assume that we live in a patriarchy if they're not identifying masculinity with order?
That is the very definition of a mic drop. The very fact that feminists assume we live in a patriarchy is precisely because they associate order with masculinity. I might add to the contradiction that all feminists hold to. They at the same time believe there's no difference between male and female whatsoever, while also asserting that men by their nature seek to dominate and oppress women. Well, you can't have it both ways. I think Jordan Peterson did a fantastic job there showing that the woke conception of gender and patriarchy is analytically worthless. Its assessment of the biblical foundations of Western civilization are absurd on their face. And fortunately, in crazy times like these, we have someone like Jordan Peterson, both able and willing to defend the very source of our human dignity and worth. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and you will definitely want to check out my latest video on Jordan Peterson leaving Joe Rogan absolutely speechless on the Bible. It's going to make your day, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.